There are a lot of subjects expected to hear from the president at his press conference today, but the topic that actually stole the spotlight, it snuck up on a lot of us. It's Susan Rice, current U.S. ambassador to the UN, and Rice's name, as many of you know, has certainly been mentioned as a possible replacement for outgoing Secretary Clinton at the State Department. But Rice has been in the news for a whole other reason lately, and that was her TV appearance after the Benghazi attack, where she insisted Benghazi was a reaction to that online video and not terrorism, prompting critics like Senator John McCain to say this about her possible nomination.
Susan Rice should have known better, and if she didn't know better, she's not qualified. She should have known better. I will do everything in my power to block her from being the United States Secretary of State. She has proven that she either doesn't understand or she is not willing to accept evidence on its face.
The president was asked today about a possible Rice nomination and criticisms from the likes of Senator McCain, and the president, he went on the attack.
But let me say specifically about Susan Rice. She has done exemplary work. She has represented the United States and our interests in the United Nations with skill and professionalism and toughness and grace. As I've said before, she made an appearance at the request of the White House, in which she gave her best understanding of the intelligence that had been provided to her. If Senator McCain and Senator Graham and others want to go after somebody, they should go after me. And I'm happy to have that discussion with them. But for them to go after the UN ambassador, who had nothing to do with Benghazi, and was simply making a presentation based on intelligence that she had received, and to besmirch her reputation is outrageous.
Besmirch is a great word. Now, reaction right after that statement from the president came very quickly from the aforementioned Senator Lindsey Graham, who said, quote, "Mr. President, don't think for 1 minute I don't hold you responsible for Benghazi. I think you failed as a commander-in-chief before, during, and after the attack. We owe it to the American people and the victims of the attack to have full, fair hearings and accountability be assigned where appropriate. Given what I know now, I have no intention of promoting anyone who's up to their eyeballs in the Benghazi debacle." All right, Nick, it's SOP. The president stands up for one of his own. You can tell he's particularly close to Ms. Rice here. But you get the idea. If the president thinks that she's the one best equipped for state, he's going to put her up. And he could have dodged this a lot of different ways. He went directly after the two guys in question. We know that we're going to have direct behind closed door testimony from General Petraeus now, directly on Benghazi, as well as the other stuff. At the end of the day, you read between the lines that the White House thinks the facts are on their side, that they had a reasonable rationale for giving the story that they did when they did?
Well, I think, what the president is trying to do here is kind of be the Papa Bear and protecting his cubs and going out there and saying, look, I'm the one who's ultimately responsible. And kind of laying down the line for this is sort of how this whole thing is going to go. He's got to seem like he's in charge, and he's the one who shows strength. That watching that clip reminded me of that moment, sort of that pivotal moment in one of the debates where he went after Romney for making this whole thing political, and I think that's what he was trying to do there. And so I think he's, in large part, they had to know that this was coming when they floated, or when whoever floated Susan Rice's name. And so I think this is, and to think that they didn't know this was coming, I think is naive of his opponents. So, I think this is all part of a larger strategy to kind of, put a foot in the sand on Benghazi and say, we know what we're doing.
Republicans want this fight, obviously. It's going to happen if she's put up for confirmation, and for that matter, anybody that's going to be put up here, they're going to be pushed in the Benghazi front. If her name goes up, you really think McCain at the end, he's going to scuttle the nomination?
Yes, I do. Yep. And I'll tell you, here's the problem, and I obviously, as a Republican, I don't have a problem with Susan Rice because I think Susan Rice was doing what she was told to do. That's what the troops do. The problem is no one followed up at the press conference with the president when he said that she was sent out there and she was told, here are the facts, here are the talking points. Who gave her the facts and the talking points? We still don't know that. And quite honestly, why was not Petraeus? Was it because they knew? Why? It's very odd for the UN ambassador.
Why would she have lied? Why wouldn't she have just said that it was a terrorist act?
Well, I don't know the answer to that, but again, that will come out as the facts go along here. But the point is that this is a very odd situation where you have a terror attack, a U.S. ambassador killed, and neither the Secretary of State, the FBI director, or the CIA director is not doing the Sunday talk show. Why would the U.S. ambassador be doing that?
It's obvious why she would have lied. I'm not accusing her of lying, but she was towing the company line.
Right.
She's not going to do anything to hurt her boss in the middle of a re-election campaign. She has ample reason to lie.
Why is it better to say that it was because of a movie than there was a terror attack? The truth wasn't going to be better than the alternative version.
Yes, it is.
I'm not so sure that it was done for political advantage. I think there may have been a miscommunication in terms of the information that was coming back. There was certainly confusing.
5 days later, though, Andrew? This wasn't the next morning. This was 5 days.
Because you know what? This isn't some cabal. This isn't some sort of. This isn't worse than Watergate, as the left has been telling us. This isn't
the right.
Or as the right has been telling us. This isn't the worst foreign policy debacle in American history, as we've been hearing in the run-up to the election.
I got to hit
it's
a break
just
here, guys.
a consulate that got
when we come back, the other big issue that we thought would dominate headlines today, that's the fiscal cliff. Not a good place to be here, but the question is, we get closer to it, who's got leverage here and who's going to be the first one to cave? Is this going to turn into a big game of chicken like we remember from a year ago, or do both parties have sufficient motivations to get this thing done before 12/31? We'll be right back. Stay with us.